Looks like we are live on YouTube. Let me go ahead and start the recording on my end. Can you record on your end?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Recording on this computer. And let's see here. This is Male Entrepreneur Podcast, episode number 139. And we are live in 3, 2. Welcome back to the Male Entrepreneur, the podcast for men who win, with your host, Purdeep Sangha. Purdeep, how you doing today, man?
Doing awesome, man. We got a cool episode ahead. We're kind of switching gears a little bit for this one. We talked about happiness and fulfillment and joy in the last one. This one is about business. We're right back into business here.
I love talking about business. It's one of the things that you were talking about in the last episode, finding things and focusing on things that bring you joy in life. I don't know why, but business has always been one of those things for me. It's always been one of those things that I get like charged up when I talk about business with people, and it's kind of alienating because most people hate talking about business. Most people hate talking about money, and they hate talking about marketing. And I'm always like, I get energy out of these kind of conversations.
A true businessman, a true entrepreneur, right?
I guess so, man. So yeah, your topic for this week is paid for results. I think I know where you're going with this, but I wanted to know what exactly is it that you wanted to cover in this week's episode.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of my clients is sometimes they get stuck and they get stuck in a situation where they need additional expertise, but they don't have the money for it. Or they're basically, they're afraid of moving forward and they don't want to invest in something. Or they have a wrong sales model altogether or a wrong marketing model altogether. And you and I have discussed this before because, I've jumped into the digital marketing world several years ago and haven't had really any luck with the firms that I had. And it was all fee based. And I had to take a different approach to say, okay, I want this to be a pay per results, but I'm willing to pay more. I'm willing to actually go in this strategically. But for the clients that I've done consulting with and coaching for, this actually works very well, for example, because if you're afraid to hire someone, then hire someone for results. And I can tell you, like having a sales team of 300 plus people myself when I was in the corporate world, is we based it on results. And when you base it on results, people are motivated. People are motivated to do it. And if you have a proper compensation model, you can blow your sales targets right off the roof. It's incredible what motivated people will do. The question is you have to have the right people. That's the first thing. And sometimes we hire people that are in the wrong roles, and then we think that maybe the process was screwed up or maybe the system was blown up, but it just might not have been the right person.
So the thing that immediately comes to mind for me is 99% of the population is either programmed or just not driven to get paid for results. They think that the way I get paid is I show up and I give them 40 hours and they give me a paycheck. And whatever gets done within that 40 hours is what gets done, and I get my paycheck. So they're paid for time. They're paid for physical presence, but they're not paid for results. They don't get, if they get 15 floors mopped in an hour, they get the same amount of money that they would make if they get 25 floors mopped in an hour. So a lot of people, just the idea of getting paid for results is completely foreign to them. It takes, and this is something in sales and marketing, it kind of takes a weird person, I think. You got to be kind of weird to be a results person. You got to be kind of weird to break free of the 40 hours and you get a paycheck type of thinking.
Yeah, I would say that's a great way to put it. You got to be weird to actually want to get paid on your results. We should put that in the copy for this episode. I like that. But no, you're so right. I actually learned this from my parents because my parents, when they came from India, they didn't have any formal education, and all they again knew how to do was work hard. And so they were on the orchards, and my parents for a long time were getting paid minimum wage, and it was not easy work. They were out there in the middle of winter and snow when it was cold, pruning trees, and they were out there in the scorching hot sun when it was hot in the summers. So it wasn't easy work. But what I learned from my parents, especially my dad, was he used to do some contract work when it came to pruning, for example, pruning trees. And my dad was always a hard worker, but he just killed it when it was the pruning time because he would just get all these orchards on contract and just work like crazy. And not only was he happy because he was making a ton more money, but the people that were actually getting the work done were happier because the stuff was getting done faster. So we have to understand that too. That is when we give people the motivation to actually get results, it's not just about the results, it's about the timing of the results as well. That is even a bigger thing. And that is such a huge thing in business because business, there's a big time factor there. If you can get out there and you can make more sales or get out to market faster than your competition, if you can, as you know, Nathan, in a marketing piece, if you can get a marketing campaign out there faster and reiterate it and change it and modify it and change it to the times, because we know digital marketing right now is changing fast, right? Depending on platforms, Facebook's always changing something. People are going over to LinkedIn. All these kinds of changes impact your marketing. So if you're relying on someone that's getting paid per hour, for example, and not getting paid on results, you're actually going to have a slower business as well. And so there's almost that double compound effect. It's not only the results, but the timing of the results.
I want to pivot just a little bit. We've talked about like the participation trophy generation, where you should get paid regardless of your results. Even if you come in fifth place, you still deserve the same amount of money as the guy who came in first place. Uh, there's also, and this is kind of more of like the more socialist, communitarian minded people, the people that say, well, you shouldn't be paid on results, you should be paid on your needs. Uh, I guess two things that I wanted to get your take on in the participation trophy generation type of mentality. I see a lot of people in the workplace that are like, well, I'm going to get paid the same amount no matter, if I work twice as hard, I'm still only going to get the same pay as the guy who works half as hard. So why shouldn't I work half as hard? And then the more growing, uh, at least here in America, and I know I see it in Canada too because I have a lot of friends and clients that are in Canada. There seems to be this kind of growing, even inside of marketing. I've seen some of my marketing friends that work in Canada. It seems to be even more popular there. This idea that you should get paid based off of what you need, not based off of what results you can deliver. And I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on why that's becoming such a popular mentality, if you have any thoughts about it at all.
Yeah. So, maybe I can get some more clarification on the need part after. Oh, well, yeah. Maybe. What do you mean by needs? Like get paid on your needs?
Well, specifically, I don't know if you're familiar with like the universal basic
Oh,
income
okay. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
idea and stuff like that. That seems
Yeah.
to be growing in popularity even amongst some entrepreneurs and marketers.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So the first part is the participation piece, and that's a bunch of crap. One of the things that we've consulted with organizations in the past is the generation changes, for example, because in a lot of corporations right now, you have three different generations. Um, and so the newest generation, and I don't want to bash the younger people, but there is a different level of work ethic and expectations because they do want to come in. They almost have a know-it-all approach, and they want to get paid what a senior person might, for example, be getting paid. And we are teaching children, I think, to be too soft, to be too entitled. That's my take on things. I can see the impact that it's having. They are not, it's not the same generations as before. They have their strengths in other areas, but this is not one of them. And I can tell you because I take on a number of interns. I had 7 interns in this past summer, university interns, MBA students that we took on for a number of our projects. And I can tell you that some of them did well, some of them did not, because it was just almost like they didn't have the work ethic that they wanted. It was they wanted the accolation and everything that came along with it, but not put in the time, the effort, and actually go above and beyond. So I saw that firsthand. The second thing is when you talk about universal income, Yeah, I'll give you. I'll share an example. A few years ago, I was the board chair of the Social Planning Research Council for the city of Hamilton here in Ontario, and it was the largest social planning research council in Canada. And basically, what social planning research councils do is they conduct research on behalf of the government bodies and for other, you can say, private sector and non-private sector organizations about the well-being of people and how people are living, their states of living, the healthcare, for example, food that's available, shelter. And so I lived in that world for 3 years, being on this board, and I can tell you that there's a lot of people struggling out there. I can tell you that there's a lot of people that don't deserve to be struggling who are struggling. There's people out there with a lot of mental illnesses, for example, that have been abandoned, that are roaming the streets because they have a legitimate mental illness and nobody cares about. I'll give you an example. Right here in the city that I live in was a major core for mental illness about 10, 15, no, probably about 20 years ago. And they built all these mental health and wellness facilities here in the city, especially in the downtown core. They actually subsidized it. It was actually a very well-known city for mental health. What ended up happening is the government stopped subsidizing, and all these people were left to fend for themselves. And the downtown core plummeted. The city plummeted because these people were just roaming the streets. They had nowhere to go. They had no help, and it's still plaguing the city. They've cleaned it up a little bit. They've helped these people, but I can tell you it's had a devastating impact on the community as a whole. Not only these individuals, right? Because think about it, all of a sudden one day someone's helping you live your life because you can't aren't capable of it. But now they say, sorry, we can't help you, and you're out on your own, and you have no way of fending for yourself. So I feel for a lot of these people. Um, Universal income, yes, we called it the living wage. There was a study that was done in this particular city. The living wage for the average family, for one child, just to be able to afford to put their kid in school, one extracurricular activity, we're just talking about one, and be able to maybe even go out for dinner once a month and live in a shelter or food, a basement suite that didn't have bed bugs. They calculated it out to be $15.41 at that time. This was a few years ago, just to have basic necessities. Not talking about car, we're talking about public transport. And so that was phenomenal for people to realize, wow, like there's people that are trying to make it. But even if they're a janitor, for example, and they're getting paid 12 bucks an hour, 13 bucks an hour, they can't afford the basics of life. So it's an eye opener. So do I believe in it? It's a little bit of a, I'm kind of torn on this because I believe in capitalism. I believe that people should be paid on what they're worth and the effort that they're put in. I also believe that there's a lot of people on welfare that just don't deserve to be on welfare and they're milking the system. And there's a lot of just people abusing the system as a whole. This is where I'm torn. I don't have the solution for this, Nathan, because I see richer people getting richer and I see poor people getting poorer. And it's a struggle for me personally because we know that there's people that circumvent rules. We know that there's people that have businesses that are able to pay no taxes, which is great if for that business. But does it help contribute in other aspects? Are they providing enough jobs? Are they paying people well? Are they doing all that other kind of stuff if they're not going to pay taxes? So I don't know. That's a social concept. I just know that people are suffering out there, and I think people deserve to not suffer. I think there's certain things in life that we should all be. Here's my take on socialism, or from a social aspect. I believe that every person who is willing to work should be working. Willing and capable of working, or is capable of working, should be working. Bottom line, right? If they don't have the necessities of life, they should be working for it. But I also believe that people should have access to basic things like healthcare, basic things like being able to feed their kids, basic things like being able to live in a place that doesn't have mold where people are getting sick, right? Your kids are getting sick. I believe in that. Do I believe that they should have, other things in life like the extracurricular or whatever? I don't know about that, but they deserve to have the basics.
So I kind of agree with you, but I grew up in that system, at least here in America, and I saw a lot of um it I saw the negative impact of it. I saw that it created it created dependency. It
Mhm.
created generational uh welfare programs where this is how mom did it, so this is how I do it, so this is how my kids are going to do it. Um it's one of those things where it's like I agree that there's a problem. I agree that we need a solution, but I'm not sure that the solution that we're using right now is the right way to go about it. And then I guess the thing that to tie it back to what we're talking about, if you're a hardworking person and you see that you're punished for working hard instead of getting paid for your results, you're getting punished for your results. And then you look at people who are getting paid to explicitly avoid getting results. When you look when you're on a societal level and you're like, man, I work 60 hours a week to make sure that my business can employ these 20 people, and I'm paying taxes to make sure that other people can sit at home and watch soap operas all day, or watch TikTok videos all day, and they get paid off of my hard work. uh it's one of those things where will it have more negative consequences down the line? I guess, like, same thing if it's in the workplace, or if you're the leader of the workplace and you're paying some team members to pull all of the weight so that you can pay the same amount to other team members who aren't doing anything. As a business owner, we're like, yeah, that's probably not going to be good for the morale of the team. As an overall for society, I don't know. I don't know if I'm very sold on the positive benefits of it in the long term on society, on a societal level.
Yeah, I think and I think, well, here's my take on that is that there's never a universal approach. And I think that's the challenge is we try to take a blanket approach on everything and it doesn't work. And the same thing in business, a commission based or a paid per results isn't always going to work. It will work if you have the right people. I think that's ultimately what it's about. If we take a look at it from a political standpoint and a social aspect, eh, we don't get to pick the people that live next door. We don't get to pick the people that live in our community, right? We don't. So it doesn't work. But we do get to pick the people that work in our organization, in our business. We absolutely do. So it will absolutely work if you have the right people. And I see a lot of people saying, oh, it hasn't worked. I tried that in the past. It's because you didn't have the right people or you didn't have the right system in place to be able to support that. And I can show you if if I had my clients' results in front of you, you would see that there is a stark difference between people that are just getting paid hourly versus people that are getting paid per results, and the business is doing extremely well because of that. So my I guess my point to you is that if you're challenged with something, if you need help or you're just not reaching that level, take a look at it and take a look at it from perspective of what if I paid people for results and what if I paid them even more for results? Don't be afraid of actually paying people more for results. It can help you. It can actually help you grow faster. You'll be amazed to see what people will do. Now, on the flip side, also want to caution you too, because there's certain positions that you may not want to pay people based on results, right? You may not, because that kind of construe sometimes, for example, a customer service person, um, if you pay them per results for getting through a call faster, how many calls can you go through? Because I know, because organizations have done this, we've had to correct it. You're going to have a lot of pissed off clients
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, did I help you? Oh, did I resolve your issue? Thank you, sir. On to the next one. That's not what you want. You got to be very careful in terms of who you pick or the roles that you pick to be paid on results. So I kind of want to leave you with that.
Yeah. I guess be careful about what the results that you're looking for actually are.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we're out of here, a couple things. You've got a new book coming out. I want to give the listeners a chance to get access to that. And then I want to plug where people can go and check out more episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, check out obviously the Complete Man book. We don't have a URL exactly yet, but we will eventually at some point. But you can get a free copy just by texting free to 888-210-5566. So that is the word free to 888-210-5566. We'll send you a notification of how to get your copy prior to it actually going out to official launch. So you get a pre-release copy, which will be absolutely free, and we'll let you know how to do that when you text that number.
And
And
then,
sorry, just to follow up, where can people find us? Well, YouTubeformen.com or mailpodcast.com.
all right, man. Until next time, we'll catch you later.
Can't wait.